Hi, I'm Jim Hartley, and I'm your host here at TBTH Vegas. So, what the hell is TBTH? It's taking back the house. That's what we're talking about. Okay, ensuring that nothing happens on the casino floor that you're not in control of and that you know what's going on. So, obviously, this is a casino-oriented video, and I will have some things in here that some non-casino folks might like as well. So, there'll be some cheat video, things like that as we go on. But today's topic is blackjack and the big lie. Stick around. I think you might like it. So stick around to the end and maybe you might learn something that helps you make more money, which is kind of the whole point of it, isn't it? So welcome to the Art of Blackjack. And this first episode is Blackjack and the Big Lie. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you're going to find out. Hopefully, you'll stay to the end and hear the final thoughts. But 20 to 25 years ago, the industry started to turn. And it was basically because of an influx of less experienced gaming personnel into Las Vegas and other gaming destinations. And they didn't fully grasp or understand gambling. And you might say, oh, seriously? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I do. A lot of the stuff's fairly hard. And the idea that the corporations had of this manager, right? They like to put managers in charge of things instead of subject matter experts. Okay. And when you're talking about game protection, you're talking about people who are subject matter experts, not managers. I've always found this hilarious. You got a department of 25 people. You need a manager to run it, but it's a subject matter expert position. And he's got 3 supervisors already. How much managing is there to do? Or is it a cop-out? Right? Which one? You make your decision. I'll just keep my own personal opinion of myself for now. Okay, so anyway, 25 years ago, things started to change. You started to see more shuffle machines, continuous shufflers, the like. You saw the degradation of the rules. First it was hit 17, and then it's removing all these other things. And each time they said, oh, because it's worth this, this much against the player, then we'll see that much more. And none of that ever came to fruition or ever occurred. There's casino shuffle machines, which were supposed to increase the game pace and increase profitability and increase the hold percentage, did none of those things. So, and I'm going to prove that here in a little while, all right? So, but all those things, players don't like them. Do you know how I know this? Because if I go into any Las Vegas Strip casino and I go into their high limit room, what game am I going to see? You got any continuous shuffle machines up there for your high limit players? No, you don't. You do not. You have 0.26 6-deck games. You even got double deck games at like 0.4. Those are playable games. Those are good games. Those are the games people learn to play and like and enjoy. Who are you going to have playing those games in 10 years? That's the question. Where are the players you're developing, the blackjack players you're developing, to take those high rollers' place? And with the way the industry looks in the short term, we got a downturn coming up. The geopolitical situation is all up in the air. Just for an idea, this is November 2022. Okay, you're gonna depend on China for your revenue. Okay, good luck with that. It might work and you'll make all kinds of money, or it could go badly, or you could hedge your bets. You know what gamblers do. It's a crazy thought, but who knows? All right, so I get way off track all the time, folks. I'm going to try and keep on, but you're going to have to just suffer through with me. All right, so as this new era, and we'll call it the dead game era, developed, people didn't change anything. At no point did anyone say, hey, maybe we should look at this, all right? But 2 of the reasons that have been given for this, why this change needed to happen, is 1, that the players got too smart, okay? 2, that the variance of blackjack it's just undoable. Oh my, I just get the vapors thinking about it. And I've heard this repeatedly when I talk to people, and I always say, why don't you guys deal a good game? Why don't you take advantage of that? Oh, it's the variance, Jim. The variance is too much. Nobody's going to go for that. None of these people are ever going to go for that. Did you check that out? Did you look at them and say, prove it? I'm betting you didn't, okay, because you wouldn't have done it. That's the point. Okay, so we're going to look at those two things, and we're going to come right off the bat here with the big lie, and we're going to talk about what that is and how to actually overcome it. Now, the big lie is actually the illusory truth effect, okay? And it's got another term right now, which is TBR, truth by repetition. Okay, so the illusory truth effect is the tendency to believe false information to be correct after repeated exposure. This was first identified in 1977. There's been many studies done since then that have all come back to the same place, showing that this stuff works. There was just a study done last year that this article is about. Okay, and this article, this study was a little bit different. And the reason is that not only did they show that repeating a claim increases that claim's perceived truth value, that for a long time, it was assumed that this so-called truth by repetition effect only applied to claims whose truth value was ambiguous, meaning it could be like somebody telling you repeatedly over and over again, the Atlantic Ocean is the largest ocean. And then you don't think about it. Somebody says, you're watching Jeopardy. What's the largest ocean? And you say, oh, the Atlantic. Why did you think that? Right? And because it's ambiguous. It could possibly be. It's not, but it could be. All right? Now, this study went farther than that. Now it shows that what politicians and advertisers knew all along, that truth by repetition works on virtually any claim, even highly implausible ones. Now, this effect has been known for a long time, but now again, it's been refined and we can see more and more just how it works. And since it is November 2022, I'm going to ask all of you, remember the TV ads that are playing right now that I'm not watching TV because it's repetitive and each one's the same and they keep showing them and you're going, why are they showing this damn thing over and over? To make you believe it. Remember, Marlboro's good, but they're also toasted. It's nonsense. It's bullshit. And they're just pounding it into our heads. Now, the big lie in blackjack, it's the same thing. Nobody stopped to look and say, is that right? Seriously, where did you get this information? All right, so when this started happening years ago, I was having a conversation with this guy I know, okay? And he's high up, he's well placed, he could make a difference. He's the kind of person in a situation to change things. But since he's a status quo technician and he's really only good at doing what's been done and what everybody else is doing, not going to take any chances, not going to get out there, not going to open that can of worms, etc., right? Not going to do this. Didn't even look into it. But when I asked, and I've asked this question across the United States, when I was doing software installs, and we were actually installing software to run people's surveillance, security, game protection operations, I got a chance to delve into their operations. So there's lots of questions I could ask, and I'd always work in some questions that I was curious about. Now this is anecdotal information, okay, but it's over a long period of time, and it has been repetitive. But the one thing that came up repeatedly was that the internet had made people too smart to deal the game of blackjack. This is painful for me to say over and over again, because I want you to roll it in your mouth. Just taste it. The internet. It made people too smart to deal blackjack. Yeah, okay. The internet made people too smart. Have you been on the internet lately? Right? Go on the internet and put in flat earth. You will find a boatload of people who now believe this. And they believe it because now you've got people forming these groups and coming together, and they're reinforcing their own wrong opinions. Okay, and just an FYI, the fact that Earth was round was proved in like 300 BC. Okay, it was a Greek dude that did it. But anyway, when you look at things like this, these ideas that the internet, it's just a cesspool of idiocy. I don't get it. So what? People were brought to wisdom by what? Now, what they were referring really to and extrapolating from was the internet sites that were for blackjack at that time. Stanford Wong's BJ21, Blackjack Forum had a site. There was any number And I was in most of them. So when somebody said this to me the first time, I said, yeah, prove that. I said, I don't believe that. I'm reading what all these normal players are saying, the people who are learning to do this on a regular basis, like, every night. How often were you in there? Would you go in one time, see something that scared you and, whoa, can't do that. But I don't know what, but so I didn't see this. And so one time I asked somebody and I said, hey, this guy I'm talking about, I said, hey man, why would you do this? Well, we did a study. I said, really? Can I see it? He said, no. What we did was we took our computer surveys, our computer evaluations, and we averaged them all out to see what the average house advantage at that point was. And it was less than 1%. It was like 0.95. Now, just for comparison, we usually figure basic player advantage is going to be around 1 to 1.5, maybe even higher. It depends on the market and the quality of the play. But 1% to 1.5 is kind of standard. Again, a locals place is going to be a little less, a little more. But at 0.9, that's not bad. And I was like, well, where'd you get this? Well, we averaged all those surveys. I said, did you do any random ones? $5 games, $25 games? Because I know why you do these evaluations. You do these evaluations because you think someone's a card counter. They are a card counter and you're trying to prove it. They're a high limit player, won a boatload of money, and you just got to check. It's a guy we want to check to see how much we want to comp them, but it all relates to their ability to play the game, how good they are at it. And if you're looking at it, it means they must be fairly good. They've come to our attention. So they're what you call better than average basic strategy players, right? These are guys with money. They tend to be a little bit better. They've played more blackjack. They're better at it. No, this is the average player. So think about that for a second. This is actually a subset of elite players, and you're running your average off that. All right? Now, one of the things I'll say forever is 42 million people are going to come through our doors. That was the high end. It's going to be 38 million in 2022 is what they're predicting. And it's not that easy to do this. Who are you gearing your game to? The hardest player or the 41,999,000? I don't know. Geez, like if you did the math on that, I'm betting you'd want to do the other one. Okay, so one of the things I say about this too is you got to watch for confirmation bias. This person was looking for that answer. He wanted to get that answer because then he can use that, tell the executives, oh, you can't do that because, these players, they'll kill us. They'll kill you. Not me, you. I can do that. I can protect that game. It's not hard, folks. It's not rocket science. I am not very smart. Okay? So I can't go looking for preconceived ideas to confirm. I got to go looking to find out something that's not going to be correct. Okay? Now, let's say that, maybe I'm wrong about the internet. Maybe, but you know what? So here's a study that was done in 2012 to 2015. They did, 2012 to 2017. They did 5 years. And it comes out 130 million American adults have low literacy skills. Now, why do I mention this? Because, and this is a quote from the article, about 130 million adults in the U.S. have low literacy skills, according to a Gallup analysis of data from the U.S. Department of Education. This means more than half of Americans between the ages of 16 and 74, 54%, read below the equivalent of a 6th grade level. Literacy is broadly defined as the ability to read and write, but it more accurately encompasses the comprehension, evaluation, and utilization of information, which is why people describe many different types of literacy: health, financial, legal, etc. You mean that half the population that we would be dealing the game to can't actually learn to do what we're talking about? It's a 6th grade level doesn't cut it for counting cards. Period. It doesn't. There's no way they'd be able to apply this. So you're talking half the population is out right off the bat. So of our 42 million, we know automatically 21 million of them are marks. Straight up marks, man. All right? So now it is very difficult to become an advantage player. It is easy to learn to detect advantage, which is what casino people learn. Casino people don't learn advantage play. They don't learn how to count cards. They learn how to detect someone counting cards. That's the truth. Okay, when I was doing this originally years ago, I saw this because I went out to play. And I sat down on a game and I realized I couldn't do it fast enough. And I had to retool. So I went and I started researching. Again, this is early internet days. And I found some of the card counters tools for learning basic strategy, which is one of the hardest things to do in this. And I'll tell you what, so right now there's a lot of industry people and they're looking at me and they're rolling their eyes. Oh, this fucking guy, he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Here's a fact. If your game protection people, surveillance, casino, whatever it is, if they test for basic strategy, which they should be doing at least twice a year, and they allow any mistakes, it means that they don't know what they're talking about. That's pretty bold, but it's true. Talk to any card counter. If you don't play perfect basic strategy, you're out. So if your people looking for this don't play perfect basic strategy, they're just wrong. It's not my opinion, okay? Because the minute they make a mistake, your edge changes, doesn't it? Goes up and down. They make a mistake what that guy did, and suddenly it's a different game. So they have to know it perfectly, and they have to know it fast. You have to time this, okay? You have to literally train these guys as junior card counters, okay? You don't have, they won't have to learn the whole boat, but the beginning, all the operational stuff they need to know. Okay, and I went back to the art of war on this. In order to defeat your opponent, you must become your opponent. And that was what I did to do this. And suddenly it was different. Now, I am telling you, I'm not claiming to be some professional card counter. No, I'm not, period. I'm serviceable and I can detect advantage quite easily. And I was a semi-pro player, all right? But when I give you this stat, you're going to see why there's no way. Okay, so many, and this is from Why Advantage Players Shouldn't Worry Casinos, Nicholas Colon, Gambling Insider, February of 2018. And this is a quote from that article. Many gaming authors agree that the discipline needed is a rare commodity, and approximately only 1 in 46,000 people who walk into a casino are competent enough to execute even the most basic form of advantage play. Of those 1 in 46,000, only 10% have the required bankroll to withstand the swings. In 2015, 5 million people walked through the doors of the Tropicana Casino in Las Vegas. Applying the informed estimates, we have a total of 11 people who have the skill and bankroll to make $5,000 in 80 hours of play. Bankroll. What he said on there, bing, bing, when I did that, that's because bankroll is the key. There are plenty of people who are able to beat the game on a short run status, right? But for the long run, they're not properly bankrolled. And they'll run on a negative, they'll hit a negative run and they'll run out of money. So that's one of those things I always say. I evaluate a player. I'm looking at, my question is, can I make more money from him? Not, oh my God, he's so threatening, he's scary, he knows basic strategy. Oh! That shit's hilarious, man. He could be a card counter. Oh, he is. We got a lot more money, you know, and I can identify him quickly. And then we'll throw him out and we won't do it again. Well, he'll come back, but, you know, it's the game. You got to learn to play that game, too. No hard tactics. Backrooming is nonsense. Arresting people for doing this, that's idiotic. Get them lunch. Have a nice day. Tell your friends. Yeah, because most of them can't fucking do it. That's the point here. It's just hard. 130 million people can't even fucking get to the basic of this, right? Statistical fact. So who are you dealing to, right? Now, my personal bad guy database is probably one of the larger private databases, all right? And I'm going to say, number one, I was one of the guys who did the original Biometrica face recognition database, all right? Now, if anybody's told you they did this and their names are not Andy Anderson, Charlie Gunther, or Jim Hartley, they're a liar, period, because we were the ones who did it. Okay, so I've got all that data plus lots more I gathered over the years. Because if I do something for somebody, it doesn't. I used to do a lot of photo recording and databasing for folks. But if somebody gives me something, if they say I can't use it anywhere, I can just use it personally. All right. But anyway, so going to that, I would say at any time there's only around 700 to 1,000 people anywhere in the world that you have to worry about on this. Okay? And that's including all the team players through the years. This is a lot of different people. But these guys aren't active that long. They will pop back up. You'll see them come back up, but it's really nothing to be worried about because, again, 42 million people or excuse me, 38 million people are going to come through town. 40 million next year, I'm being hopeful. And we're going to be back to that 42 million here in Las Vegas. And at the same point, you're only going to have to worry about less than 1,000 people. But you're dealing the game to them rather than to the 42 million. Morons, by the way. You know, the common clay. Okay, so now, why do I say that about, moving my notes forward here. All right, so one of the things about card counters, and I've seen this through the years, all right, is that they do this for recreation a lot of times. A lot of these guys, this is like recreation. It's to blow off steam. It's a hobby for them. It's not their full-time gig. They're, of course, pros, not denying that, all right? But I'm not scared of them either, and I'm not running my operation. I'm not letting someone run my operation. I'm taking back the house, right? You're taking control. You're getting that thing by the reins and steering it correct, all right? So when you look at these guys, they do age out, right? They tend to go away. Edward Tenner in The Atlantic in 2011 wrote an article about this again as well. And he says, what really keeps the numbers of top blackjack players down may be another paradox. If you have the mathematical skills, memory, emotional discipline, financial resources, and acting ability to beat the house, you can make even more money running a hedge fund. Even top-tier academia is more advantageous. As the Stanford mathematics professor Percy Diaconis has pointed out, you make much more money proving theorems than you do counting cards in a casino. That's just true. In fact, the team we know on our side is the Greeks. They call themselves the lawyers. What do you think they're doing right now? They got a really large hedge fund, a bunch of those folks, and they've got a couple $100 million in it. And I guarantee you their numbers aren't flat. I bet they're making money. I bet they'd fire somebody who didn't make money. Odd thought, but hey. All right, so now we come back to the late, great George Carlin. And I'm reminded of his immortal words. Think of how stupid the average person is and realize half of them are stupider than that. Hey, George is right on for the ages, man. All right, now, so I don't know, I mean, you might still be saying that the players are too smart and you can't deal a game because of that. And again, I think my evidence that I just showed is fairly strong that that's not the case. Now, the other side of that one is, of course, the variation, right? Variance, the variance, Jim, it's the variance. There's no way nobody's going to do that. It's just insane. I feel like Crazy Eddie. We can't have blackjack because it's insane, the variance. Who remembers Crazy Eddie? I hope somebody out there does. Otherwise, I just look like an idiot for nothing. All right, now, in 2015, the UNLV Center for Gaming Research put this out. Nevada table games, historical hold percentage variations. So now we're looking at a chart which shows 1992 to 2014. And let's remember, this is part of the dead ball era, if you will, the dead game era, from about 2000 going forward, you know, right to the present. Now, one thing I want you to notice, too, about this is around 92 to 97, you can see it's 14%, right? And I can tell you that in those years, Bill Zender was on the strip running the Atlantis, and he was at times putting up 18% as his hold. So those numbers are skewed by a blackjack expert applying his trade, okay? 18%. In 98 or so, I forget the year exactly, but at the MGM, at the time, one of the largest blackjack houses in the world, we put up 16.9, man. Letting the cards flow, letting it go. 16.9, that's a lot of money. Actually, and that's what kind of financed the takeover and brought about the corporate era. Good and bad thing, I guess. But let's look down at the bottom of that. Okay, and we look at the annual statewide hold percentages, 92 to 2014, 21 craps, roulette, and baccarat. And in this race, we've got 21 coming in at 1.72 in the lead. Goodness gracious, it's not even really that close. We've got craps coming in second at 2.17. We've got baccarat at 2.18, and we've got roulette coming in at 5.34. That's variance from 1992 to 2014. Not a lot, and blackjack's best. Who knew? Anybody who looked up the numbers. That's who knew. All right. Now, you may say, oh, but wait, Jim. It's not the annual variance. It's the monthly variance. It's just too much. My people they're just short-sighted, and every month it can go up or down, or oh, it's so crazy. Okay, so let's look at the monthly numbers. They were in there too. I'm glad I found this report. So the monthly statewide hold percentages 2004 to 2015. Monthly, my friends. Okay, so let's look at that up close, and we see that, again, we've got 21 coming in at 6.18 and leading the pack. In fact, it's not even close because we've got craps coming in at 9.53, and then we're looking at baccarat at 15.98 and roulette at 16.53. That's amazing, isn't it? Variance is just nonsense. Blackjack's the most stable game. In fact, on the front of that report, at the bottom here, as can be seen by the ranges of variation, 21, even though it has the highest level of skill out of any of the 4 games studied here, had the smallest variance, while baccarat had the greatest. And remember, that is the dead ball era. They put in the continuous shufflers. They put in 6 to 5. From 2000 forward, you had a different numbers coming up there. 6 to 5 is a 2% advantage, folks. I mean, continuous shufflers, that changes the advantage. Varies. Okay? So as we can see, variances out and access information does not appear to change intelligence levels. We've knocked out those 2 most common reasons that people gave for the decline of BJ. And if you're clinging to well, players just stopped playing, no. Nonsense. You changed the rules of the game. And people stopped playing it because it was no longer the same game. This is not difficult. And as we're going to see from these numbers right here, doing the same thing over and over again, what was that they say about that? Expecting different results? Because I want you to remember, everything that was done was to bring about higher hold percentages. We're going to change these rules because it's worth more. We're going to higher house advantage. That means we'll win more. It'll be a higher hold percentage because they love the hold percentage, right? Gotta love that one. Okay, but these games now coming into this era, they're terrible, and you're seeing the play level off again, and it's a problem. Okay, do you want to make more money? Not spending any money? You don't have to buy anything here, right? You just deal the game the way it's meant to be dealt. That's it. All right, now. I would stop there, except for the fact that this next bunch of numbers really, I just love this, okay? So what we're seeing here is the numbers from 1992, 95, 2000, 2010, 2022, okay? So we're going to go right here, and we're going to say, 1992, we had 35 locations, 1,108 units. So locations is casinos, units are the number of games, and then the win amount, which is 453,478,000 for a 13.6 average. 1995, 39 locations, casinos, 1,204 games, $553,896 win. 13.31%. That's variance, folks. 2000, 37 locations, 1,515 games, 744,749,000. 11.56. That's, the beginning of the dead ball era. 2010, we had 38 locations, 1,404. Number of tables is declining. 721,822. Revenue, win amount is declining. For a 9.98 win hold percentage, okay? Now we come to 2022. We have 34 locations, 1,069 units, $995,928 $1,000 or $1 million win. 995 million. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, misspeaking. Okay, for again, now I love this 13.6 hold percentage. 30 years, 13.6 at the beginning of the 30 years, 13.6 at the end. The price of all the continuous shufflers, all the loss of play, all the stupid rules. You got 6-5 games that are factoring in that later amount. 6-5 at a 2% advantage. Just vacuuming money out of people's pockets, not making any players. It's like charging for parking. It's a waste of time. Okay? It's just not the best plan. Now, oh, wait, Jim. Well, 995 million is nothing to sneeze at. We doubled that 1992 number. We doubled it. What's wrong with him? It's all about how much you win. I wish he really meant that. Because when we look at that number and I say, wait a second, it's November 2022 again. What's on everybody's mind? Inflation. What happens if we adjust that number to $1992? Okay? All of a sudden, if I take all those win numbers, okay, and that's all I've changed here, is I changed them all to $1992. So we're looking at units. Units wagered, units won, right? Units won here. If we look at $1992, it starts to be a little bit differently. We start in 92 at 453 million. At 13.6, we end at 470 million, 13.6. The whole percentage has gone nowhere. It's gone nowhere. And one of the factors that did change is in 1992, there were only 21 million people coming through Las Vegas. In 2022, the expected number right now is around 38 million. And on that win figure as well, I want you to realize that we've had record holds all through this year. Each month, each season has been just destroying the last and setting records. So these numbers, that number, that 470 million, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem like 20 years that's where you should be. Same hold, same win, basically. I don't know. You spent a lot of money to try and get more on both those numbers, and you didn't get it. So I'm not talking about costing you money. I'm talking about, why don't you take a look at getting rid of those shufflers, the technicians that do it, and the contracts and all the nonsense that goes with that. Gone. Just get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Take every side bet off your games. There's a lot of people hating on me right now. A lot of people watching this going, fuck that guy! Shut up! Fuck him! If we'd actually had our way, that game would be dead by now. I mean, we'd be winning more. All right, so now we're going to talk about, I keep saying hold percentage, right? And there's guys out there not going, well, hold percentage is not everything. I wish you truly believe that. I say it again. I wish you truly believe that. All right, now this is a quote from Nicholas Colon, Gambling Insider, from 2017. Now, actually, I had talked to Max Rubin about this at one point, and he had told me about this instance, and that's one of the reasons I really like putting it in here. So Nicholas writes, somewhere in the past 70 years, the hold percentage was determined to be the standard that gaming executives measure how effective their games are. Max Rubin, the author of Comp City and a longstanding member of the advisory committee at the Global Gaming Conference, recently posed the following question to a highly respected Las Vegas table games executive. Would you want to have a 10% hold on $1 million handle? Would you want to handle $500K and hold 15%? Not surprisingly, the executive said the 15% on the $500K. This validates James Grosjean's, arguably the top gaming theoretician and practitioner of the current generation and perhaps ever, idea that the hold percentage is nothing more than a false idol that gaming executives blindly worship. For the mathematically challenged out there, the 10% of $1 million is $100K, while 15% of $500K is $75K. In this case, less is more. Somebody really said that. That's a quote. Okay? And if you think that the people in these positions should just know, they don't. And if they fear something, well, they'll want to kill it, because human beings are like that. So, as Aldous Huxley said, facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. And we're now left with the fact that I've removed, I think, the variance issue. And I think that the too intelligent to deal, I think that one is gone too. Okay? Just gone. I don't think either of those ideas hold up. And instead of right now, there's a lot of people who are saying this guy's so full of shit. No, I can't. This is nonsense. All the data came from Nevada Gaming Control. Okay, all that's their numbers, not mine. It's not opinion. It's fact. Okay, those are facts. The facts on intelligence levels, facts. Okay, figuring out the number of people who are a threat, well, that's a little more subjective. Okay, but right now, what people are feeling is something called cognitive dissonance. Okay, it's a mental conflict that occurs when beliefs or assumptions are contradicted by new information. The unease or tension created is relieved by one of several defensive maneuvers. People reject, explain away, or avoid the new information. They persuade themselves that no conflict really exists. They reconcile the differences, or they resort to any other defensive means of preserving stability of order in their conceptions of the world and themselves. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. But do you remember what the maximum effective range of an excuse is? Yeah, it's fucking zero. All right. Now, here's a quote from Mark Twain. And, as Mark Twain said, oh, wait, what? That's not a quote from Mark Twain, is it? No, it's not. Basically, it's an internet quote that you'll see a lot attributed to Twain, but it's not. A lack of source information for this quote is especially noteworthy, because Twain's pretty well documented. Okay? But what he did say was how easy it is to make people believe a lie and how hard to undo that work again. That is something he actually did say, right? Now, there are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, and one is to refuse to accept what is true. So at this point, I think that all you folks who went to G2E, the Global Gaming Conference, how many people came back and saw a game that was touted as the next blackjack? That's the term that's used quite often, the next blackjack. Well, the next blackjack is when you strip your game down to blackjack, put on a .26 6x shoe, and start dealing it from a shoe. That's the next new blackjack. And it's bringing back the game that made us expand across North America. This is the domestic North American game. All right, now, I do not expect the corporate casinos to listen to me and say, oh my God, he's right. I don't. They will deflect, obscure. No, it's not. No. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Who the fuck is that guy? Yeah. All right, but what I don't think they'll do is I don't think they'll take seriously this idea and look at the mountain of analysts they've got and say, hey, go run that down for us. Right? And what this does is it gives the one-off casinos, the individual places, the smaller chains, all these different people an opening. It gives you a complete place to go. All right? When I look at this, I see what needs to be done here is asymmetrical warfare. Right? You have to go where they're not. You can't line up and fight these guys as one, right? So let's go with ancient warfare. All right? We'll say that these bigger ones, they're the Roman Empire. All right? You've got big Roman empires, and we got little folks all running around with smaller units. Do you fight the 15 legions with your 4? No. They'll just surround you and crush you, right? You can't win that. Do you resort to guerrilla war? That's what you do. You fight the way they can't. You fight them the way they're weak. And that's the thing here. The bigger casinos are weak right now. They're weak when they put their spikes on. They're weak on that casino floor. They don't have the staff to do this. They would have to retool everything. It's like a big old ship going down it can't be turned easily. But you are light, small, and mobile. You can train your people from the ground up, which is going to increase value in other ways. When you start training people and put this to work, they're going to gravitate other ways. You're going to teach them how these things work, and it's going to relate to other games. Blackjack's the hardest one to learn. You work on this, you move forward. Again, If you do this, you will take those players that want to play blackjack from them. Again, what games are in the high limit area? It's not a shuffle machine. Okay? It's not a shuffle machine. It's a .26 or a .4 double deck. And you can put $25 double decks down on your floor. You could put handheld 6 decks down there. People love to hold the cards. I won't play unless I can touch the cards. And yeah, I know there's things with that too. Change your cards. Have a nice day. But there's different ways to do this. But right now, for those loners, for those individual joints out there, why spend any money? You don't have to spend any money to go after a weak point in your competition. And once you start taking these people away, you will obviously make more money. You will bring in new players. You will maintain your players. Put it this way, one place that I know of that does this, a while back they had 2 casinos in their area in themselves, so you had 3 casinos. A new one was opening up. This joint didn't lose anyone. They didn't lose a player to the new casino. The other places did. But their players wanted their game. They wanted that experience. They want to play blackjack, not sit down to a continuous shuffle machine that takes their money twice as fast as a regular game. They get time to sit, and that's why I actually like doing a hand shuffle. Gives a chance to people to react. All right, now I know this has run long, and I thank you for your time if you made it this far, and I hope that it actually is profitable for somebody. And remember, I'm available. I'm out there. And I can actually do this for you and with you. So, good luck, good cards.